Good morning, all you wonderful people. I think it's safe to say that so far we have an absolutely incredible morning of amazing stories and advice from incredible women. And we continue that this morning with Chantal Kading. We really have some incredible women that are associated with SAPEX, and we are very, very fortunate to have them. So those of you that have attended any of our events before, our young professional events, will know Chantal. Chantal is the managing director of the People Shop, a business that's been going, I think, now in excess of 20 years. Her specialist area is in placements in supply chain management. So she has placed people from entry level and now places those people in executive positions. So she's seen many people grow into incredible careers in this profession. So if anybody can attest to how amazing supply chain management is as a career, it would be Chantal. Chantal is a coach, a mentor, and a natural leader. She's also a visionary on helping to skill and grow the people of Africa. Very passionate, very driven, and if anybody can give you the right coaching advice and steer you in the right direction, it would be Chantal. But she only has so much time available on her hands to do that. And she keeps very busy with some other initiatives as well, which I'm sure she'll share with you. But we are really privileged to have you with us, Chantal. Thank you so much for your time. And I look forward to hearing what you're going to share with our young professionals this morning. Thank you.
Tanya, just confirming that you are able to see my screen and not my presenter mode.
I can see your screen with your full slides.
Fantastic. So you are able to see that. So one is Salborna to each and every one of you. I think it's so beautiful that in the crazy business we're living in, that you've made the time to prioritize yourself, enrich your career and yourself more than anything else. So embrace this time, be present in every session that you're in, and try to find one nugget. So what I oftentimes say to people is that I see you, right? Even if we're over the screen, is you are important to me and I value you. And what's so important in the session we're going to spend together is that you start to value you the way that you were intended to be. So to prioritize yourself and to accept yourself and to learn and grow in the journey of life. So the session is called Leaning into a Breakthrough. So a couple of years ago, I had challenges like many of us are going through. And the question I asked myself is, am I willing to do the impossible to reach my possible? Because sometimes we face deep challenges. And in 2017, I had an opportunity to break a wooden board, as you can see on the screen, and I was not able to do it. 3 years later, this is what happened. The question is, when it's time to do the impossible, are you ready to step up? Is, for me, my why is being able to raise the legacy leaders of Africa. In many regards is, I believe that Africa is the future of the world. We're one of the most untapped resources that has great potential growth in terms of people, but also in terms of ideas and innovation. And if we're able to do something incredible in each of our own spaces with our own talents, that's when you're able to stage a breakthrough and do something incredible for our country. It's important to know your why. Is in my life, I've been the queen of breakthroughs. Is when a obstacle comes my way, is am I able to step up my skill set? It took me 3 years to break that board, but I did. A couple of years before that, I've walked through burning fire, 600 to 700 degrees Celsius. And the reason I do crazy stuff like that is not because I'm crazy, because I probably am to a point. But the big thing is I know my why. And when you know what you stand for, when you know what you value and you realize that you're valuable, it's about thinking is how can you make your life matter? And how can you do something that not just stretches you, but really kind of strains your potential and that your best talent kind of realizes. Because in essence, what I am is a mental and emotional grit coach. and I specialize in the art of the possible. For me is no matter where you want to go to, no matter what you want to do, I believe those things are possible if you're willing to forge and nurture your raw talent. In order to get to that, what we need to talk about is fear. Because during the last 2 or 3 years, what we found is a lot of people got stumped by fear. And the thing about fear is it real? There's a beautiful quote by Will Smith that says, fear is not real. The only place that it's real is in the thoughts of the future. And so oftentimes what we find is that people get stuck behind that comfort zone of they know the past and they know the present. And Jim Collins said that good is the enemy of great. Is sometimes we fear the future, and they say that we misunderstand. Danger is real, but fear is a choice. And so as I challenge you to kind of look at your comfort zone, if you want to stretch your career, stretch your talents, then I kind of empower you to say is fear is not real. It's false evidence that appears real. And oftentimes what happens for us is we get to our comfort zone of what we know. And the question is, when you get to that comfort zone, are you willing to walk through fire? Are you willing to break a plank? Are you willing to gain your power back, or will you fall back into the fear and the comfort zone? Because the supply chain would say is, in order to have a breakthrough, I believe that you need to have lean thinking. And lean thinking, if you think about lean in the what the dictionary sense of the word is leaning in, or lean is a active word, right? It's a verb. It's about grabbing something without hesitation. That's what it means to lean in. The second thing, if we think about lean in terms of supply chain, is it's about being able to create value. So we spoke about knowing what you value, but also about being able to create internal continuous improvement. And for me in the journey as a coach, it's being able to always say is, one is be present in the now, but plan for the future. Is to think about who you are, what you could do, what you value, and how far you want to push yourself. And to really push against the comfort zone and to do the internal transformation work to stretch and strain yourself. So the question is, what is a breakthrough moment? A breakthrough moment in essence is 1 second. 1/1,000,000th of a second when the impossible becomes possible. It's when you make a decision to saying is, I'm not willing to settle for just being another person in society, to just be another employed or unemployed youth in our country. When you're willing to saying is, I'm not just someone who's got a job, but I'm someone who wants to build a career and be a professional and to make my life stand for something. I often have people saying is, what do you want to be known for? Because when you have that breakthrough moment, you are able to walk through fire. Because when I did that, I was able to thereafter stretch my dreams and climb Kilimanjaro a year later, or less than a year later. You need to think about what is your grandest vision. Because my challenge to you as young people is, are you playing small? Are you falling victim to the generalization of, this millennials are a certain way? And we want instant gratification, and we want to just do what we think is right for now and not think about the future. My challenge to you is, what is your grandest vision? Because when I have challenged myself and had breakthrough moments and climbed mountains and walked through fire, I was able to ignite my legacy of possibility. And so the question is, if you want to master your life and career excellence, in our peak performance business, we have a strategy that we call 3 to Thrive. Whenever in doubt is, what is the 3 things you can consider? Because sometimes our mind works 1, 2, 3, many. Sometimes when you set goals, when you try to tackle things, is focus on 3 things only. And so for a breakthrough, similarly, we need 3 things. The first is state, the second is story, and the last one is strategy. So let's talk about that. Oftentimes when we are faced with a challenge, an opportunity, is we oftentimes, or we get stuck, is we're saying is, what do I need to do? And we go to the strategy, to the how part. And that you'll see in this order of how we do a breakthrough is, it's the last thing we consider. They say that success is 80% psychology and only 20% mechanics. And for most of us, we spend so much time trying to solve the problem versus starting at the right place, which is psychology. In business, in life, the most powerful thing you can do is to invest time We call it the optimization rule, the 2x3. If you want to double your results, triple your investment in yourself. It takes us back to that lean thinking of doing internal continuous improvement, knowing what you value, knowing what you want to create. It starts at state, in mindset. So in short, kind of talking to you about what state is that mindset. It is what you feel will dictate how you behave, and it'll give you your results. And your state is the easiest thing for you actually to change. That's the power. The second thing is your story, right? It's what do you tell yourself? What do you believe about yourself? What rules or beliefs or generalizations you believe, saying is South Africa is a developing country. We don't have hope. We have high unemployment. What do you choose to have as your story or your fact or your truth that you believe? And the last part that I kind of started off with is strategy. It's the how. And there it's really simple, right? It's to keep it simple, because complexity is the enemy of execution. The reason most people don't get the results that they hope to, or why New resolutions don't come true, is because they make the execution too hard. The strategy becomes so complicated and convoluted that it feels heavy. We go back to state. In bad state, you cannot think yourself out of a matchbox. You want to start with great psychology, change your story in terms of what you believe about yourself, knowing what you value, doing that internal investigation, and finally, have a simple strategy. So let's talk about state, right? So the question is, what is state? State is effectively our emotions. And what's emotions? The best way to describe it is emotion is energy in motion. The reason our positive emotions or negative emotions have so much impact on us is because they actually are energy. They are something that vibrates, and positive energy vibrates at a higher frequency. We speak about the balcony emotions, and negative emotions, they vibrate at a lower frequency. And because they do that, they've got the ability to make you feel stuck and constrained, but they also prevent you from taking the action. They say it's a 5-to-1 kind of scale. You need 5 positives to weed out 1 negative. That's the potency. They say that poison comes in small bottles. Negativity, only you need a small vial to almost poison a large quantity. So you want to make sure that your state is of a way, and your mindset is tuned into something which is vibrating at a positive and a high frequency. And so 3 quick techniques to help you in terms of staging that first breakthrough in terms of state and mindset is to stop, right? Looking at the acronym is so oftentimes, and I had someone I was coaching, an executive yesterday, and the first thing when I noticed her body language, I said to her, what we're going to do is stop. And we did that. We stopped, we took a breath, and we came back. And she said, okay, she said, we can be done coaching, right? Because that's all she needed. Because sometimes in life, we just keep at something that's not working for us, but to take that pause moment, to take a breath and reset and connect back to yourself and your body and just integrate again, because we live so much in the world and so little inside of ourselves. To observe where you're at, right? Are you in the right place? Are you doing the right things? Is what you're doing serving you? And from that observation to make different choices, or even just that breath to reset yourself and then to proceed. The second one is, unfortunately, in the screen, I'm not able to see you. This is my business partner, Kobus, who, kind of is the Superman of Africa. The biggest thing to do oftentimes in changing state is to change your body language. So as you're sitting there right now, without moving anything, is just put your hand on your chest. And what I want you to do in the next second is just to kind of sit up and change your body posture. And just feel the difference of how you're sitting now in an upright and kind of all of your backbone aligned. And slant or kind of crouch again. And feel the difference versus sitting up straight. Sometimes I say to people is that you don't need BEE to empower you. What you need is for you to empower yourself. And the easiest way to do that is change your physiology. Many people, I think, are now kind of getting raising desks, because when you're standing up, what happens is already you will feel very different in your body. When you're stretching yourself out, there's a lot of kind of chemistry in terms of change in your body when you stretch yourself, when you expand your body, when you use your body in a different way, when you start sitting back in a power position, when you're using your hands, when you're creating more movement, you're able to change the way you feel. Aho in our business refers to breathe. The biggest trick around breathing is oftentimes I'll tell you when you're kind of just saying is take a deep breath in. And what do? We hold the emotion, we hold the energy. But when we do that, we go into our fight and flight emotion. The biggest trick in breathing is to breathe out long and slow. When you do that, you go into relaxation mode. If you can change your in-breath and your out-breath, it's an incredible emotional mindfulness technique that we use. By changing the in and the out-breath, elongating the out-breath, you'll change your body chemistry in order to change your mindset, in order to show up different in your personal and professional life and make better choices. Breathing, one of the most powerful things you can use. And the last one I oftentimes say is, when in doubt, is to look up. We call it hakalau. It's a technique that's used by the Huna people, the Hawaiian people. And what they say is that oftentimes, if you think about your brain waves, so that's where the mental, emotional coaching comes in, is when you're looking ahead, you're operating in a certain brain waves and even looking down. But when you're looking up through your eyebrows, almost looking up, but not at the point that your vision distorts, by doing that for probably more than 10 to 15 seconds, and just becoming aware not just of pick a spot in that space and become aware of the side of the walls and the space in front and behind you, and even the floor beneath you, become aware of your peripheral vision. What will happen is you'll naturally move your brain into your concentration state. So by literally just looking up, using the hakalau technique, you'll change your brain waves, create more relaxation, create more focus, and by doing that, you'll change your state. Because we cannot solve problems if our state and our mindset is not enabling. What we say is that people with a change-able mindset, people who are able to adapt to the changes in the world, what they have is three things. They know what they value, they know their purpose, they face their limiting beliefs, they get to their comfort zone and they push through and they challenge natural convention. And the last part is, what I always do is, they reframe everything. And what I mean by that is, we often speak about victim and victim mentality. Is, are you Victor or Victoria, or are you Tim, the person that keeps seeing the wrong in the world or chooses to listen to the news and all the bad stories? Is what you reframe your perspective to, is where do you put your attention, where do you put your focus? Because the one thing you have 100% control over is what you focus on. It's not always easy to change that focus, but when you are able to change the focus and reframe and look for what is potential and possibility, you can start developing a growth mindset. So that's in terms of state, right? So when you change your mindset to a change-able mindset, you're able to change so much of what you do, because success, 80% psychology, 20% mechanics. The next part is story, right? And story sometimes requires deeper work. It requires deeper reflection. And the deeper reflection is to understand who you are. And again, it's not just to go with the world serialization saying is I'm another youth. I'm another person, part of one cohort. And saying is who are you at your core? And more than that is who do you want to be? Because my question to many people oftentimes is figuring out what your why is, what you are willing to walk through fire for, what you're willing to strain your potential for, what you're willing to put long hours into and to not quit. The question is, who do you intentionally want to become? Who do you want to be in the world? Because the big thing is, if you think about even time management, everybody's battling time, is that as human beings, we are human beings, not human doings. But we get so stuck in what we need to do. But when you figure out who you want to be in the world, what you want to be known for, what you want to stand for, how you respond to the world and how you show up in your experience of the world, I believe will fundamentally change. If we find more ways to create joy in your life, to do things that gives you meaning, your perspective on the world will be naturally reframed. It's being able to create the vision for who you want to be in the world. So Kolofelo, that you had the privilege of meeting this morning, is one of my favorite human beings and one of my most aspirational young people. And he asked me specifically when I spoke to him yesterday to add a bit of an assessment into the session. And so what I thought to do is to give you a bit of an insight in terms of values. So for the next couple of minutes, I'll give you some time to look at it. I'm going to show you these list of values, and I'm going to ask you to pick your top 3. So just kind of look through the list, each one of them, and just kind of whichever one moves you, whichever one looks right to you, or the sound of it just kind of resonates with you, or on thinking kind of would trigger your mind, is which of these would be your top 3. And so I'm going to kind of put a timer on for 2 minutes, just so you can read through them and just identify your top 3 values. What do you value most in life? For yourself, for your career, the question is, what do you value most? Looking at the list of items on the screen. And I've got a 2-minute timer on. If many of them appeal to you, what you can do is add the extras and then almost just start eliminating once you've got a reduced list. So you can have 5 on your list, but reduce down to the top 3 that are what you stand for as a person, what you value most, what you want to focus on as a person. So you've got 20 more seconds. Beautiful. So what you'll find is these are called Barrett's values of consciousness. And what I'd like you to note down quickly for yourself, so we're kind of doing this assessment together, is just to kind of note which column the value or the 3 values that you picked are actually sitting in. So what you can just do is look at the list that you've got and just kind of, so if you had patience, you'll write a 5 behind it. If you had excellence, you'll put a 3 behind that. If you had environmental awareness, you'd put a 6 behind that. So just identify in which of the columns, the 3 values that you have picked, which columns they're sitting in. And I'll show you the next slide. So identify which column the assessment is in. Beautiful. I'm going to move to the next slide. Unless someone has got a raised hand somewhere, I think maybe Tanya may pick it up, but let's go with moving on to the next one. So the Barrett values almost are what I would call has Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but on steroids. So what you'll find usually if you think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs is that your level 1 is your survival. It's your basic physical survival needs. It's just in terms of existence, viability of existing. The second level is about relationships. So that is where you'll find more things like feeling loved and protected, your family, communication, those kind of things come into that. Your second level is relationships. The third one, I would probably call very similar to Maslow's self-actualization, self-esteem. That's about your personal performance. It's this feeling of self-worth. It's about achieving excellence in your life and your journey, and this body and vessel that you've been given as a gift. The fourth level is where it kind of sort of moves past what Maslow would have put together. In terms of level 4 is where we have a transformation. So where your bottom pyramid really kind of focuses on you as a person, the transformation happens at level 4 is about growth. It really is about growing, evolving, developing. It's about facing and letting go of fears and having the courage to actually grow and develop past just your own personal needs. And we get to then to the top pyramid, or the inverted pyramid, which is really a lot more around common good. So level 5 is about internal cohesion. So it really is around maybe finding more meaning in existence and aligning yourself with maybe the world outside. The next one is so where you start becoming an island, if you want to call it that. The 6th level is about making a difference. In essence, that level is about collaborating. It's about making a positive difference or an impact in the world. And the last one is about service, or another word for that would be contribution. So it's about being able to make an impact on the world that you're part of. And these are almost the 7 levels. So if you look at your top 3, you can now kind of say which level or which priority do you have? And no level is more than another. There is an evolution to it, but it's important not going to say, oh, I should have something in level 7 versus level 1. It's knowing at this point in time in your life, what are your priorities? Because the more clear you become about who you are and what you value and what you stand for, it's so easy to start actually taking life's decisions or opportunities that come your way through that filter. It's more than just kind of saying do I kind of align with the company I'm working for? It's saying is, if you are someone who values relationships, then your time should be spent with family. If you are saying that I'm very kind of driving 3 is one of my priorities, which is excellence, for example, is am I spending time refining my talents, refining my skills? If you're someone who's making a positive impact or making a difference, and environmental elements, we're saying if you're not recycling, you may want to start doing things like recycling to make a positive impact. Because when you know what you are standing for and what matters to you, it becomes so much easier to start thinking what you do with your time, where you invest yourself, your energy and your efforts, and ensuring that you are putting time into things which will fulfill you. Because when you are meeting your needs and your values, you will have more fulfillment. So just kind of adding these into an additional area, it's about saying is, your story is, what do you stand for? Are you someone who stands for evolution, meaning growth? Are you someone who stands for collaboration? Is that what you deeply value and you want to spend more time doing things and setting up for things that bring collaboration, community involvement, mentorship, coaching? Is it at this point in time, for many of you who are young in your careers, are you able to focus on financial stability? Because sometimes you might say is that you value relationships, but you're spending more time with friends than family, which is good to a point. But when you're not nurturing that family element, it's missing in your life. And if you're spending all of your time in terms of socializing, but you value financial stability, you want to spend more time in terms of how can you create more stability for yourself. So once you know what you value, it's very easy to start deciding where you spend your time, your energy, and what you place your focus on. So that is story, right? It's knowing who you are, knowing what you value, knowing what you stand for. So the last S we've spoken about, state story, is strategy. And as mentioned here is the biggest important thing around strategy in everything that you do in your life, in your career, how you approach it, is to keep it simple. And the reason why that KISS acronym is used so often is because complexity is the enemy of execution. when we make things too involved, when we make it too complicated, we start messing with our psychology and our state. When you kind of keep it simple, like we oftentimes say, is you want to have a 3 to thrive. What are the 3 things I need to focus on in my career strategy? What are the 3 things I want to focus on in my health strategy? What are the 3 things I want to focus on in terms of building a relationship with my partner? And it could be something as simple as saying is every morning I kiss them good morning. It could be the fact that I ask them once a week is how can I be of more love and service to you? It could be something like actually spending time to have a meal together as opposed to being passing ships a night. It's making small things or doing small actions and focus things that actually make a massive difference at the end. Because in our PPQ, we oftentimes say is that you operate in 2 planes. The first square you'll see here is your personal life. That's the first area you want to start saying is, am I clear about my goals, my focus, and my strategies for my personal life? The second area, or the second square you will see on top, is your professional life. Your professional life is your stamp on the wall. It's what you focus on is, are you spending enough time in crafting your career? And this line you see above here is what is your values? What is your compass? What do you go with? So in terms of our Qs, it's AQ, EQ, SQ, and IQ. So the 4 pillars, the 4 corners, and you can apply them to personal and professional. The first Q, AQ, is agility. It's having that agile mindset, to be willing to be change able, to be adaptable, to have the right kind of mindset, to spend time in crafting and honing your mindset. The second one is EQ. What is your emotional intelligence? And that's beyond just being able to control your emotions. It's having that maturity in conversations and interactions with others, being aware of yourself, managing your state, your emotions, and showing up differently. The SQ is your social quotient. It's about how you communicate. Communication is still one of the biggest challenges we see in most organizations and family dynamics, is how you interact. What is your style of communication? And how to approach different people in their personal style and adapting yourself to people. And the last part is IQ. And IQ is not your intelligence, but we speak about 2 things. One is your time optimization. If you are able to master and optimize time, you'll see a difference in your quality of life. The second thing, just in the world we're living at the moment, really comes down to IQ in terms of data storytelling. Data integration is how do we communicate information? We live in an information overload world at the moment, but how do we start changing the information we're getting and communicate in a way that we're able to use it for betterment? So that's the peak performance quotient. The 4 simple quotients that together will get you to peak performance. So my question is, are you ready? Are you ready to stage a breakthrough in your life, in your career, to stop being a victim of circumstances, but to really not just find yourself, but craft the life you're wanting to do? Are you willing to do whatever it takes to change your life around? So 1 is to have a breakthrough. You want to remove the mental roadblocks, the physical excuses, and the emotional shackles that prevent you from reaching your possibility. If you change your state, investigate and adapt and reframe your story, and pick a simple strategy, you're able to ignite a legacy of possibility. So in short, I encourage you to lean into your life, into your career, and start taking a proactive step to building the life and the career you want to have. And available for Q&A.
I love the clapping. So there are lots of comments. Does anybody have any specific questions? Oh, wait, there was one here. Let me just go back. Okay. Is there a correlation between age, experience, and environment to this model? Hashtag Barrett 7 levels of consciousness.
So just repeat the question for me one more time, Tanya. Is there any correlation
between age, experience, and environment to this model?
So my answer is, I always say to people is why I do sessions like these or spend a lot of time with youth development is I wish that as young individuals, you could learn the lessons I learned at 32 and 35 at 23. So for me, it should not be a matter of, it is not tied to age or experience. I do believe that you need life experiences, but it's not saying is when you, because I've seen people who are in their 40s and still have not grown as human beings. So for me, it's about the growth is a human growth. It's not a years of experience growth. And your age is relative. Like I, for example, everybody said when I was growing up, I'm an old soul. You know, I was reading self-help books when I was a teenager versus, I don't know, Trump in the Boxenbende or I don't know, whatever other, you know, kind of novels people were reading, is I made a study of wanting to stretch my talents. So no, it's not about age. It's about you taking the proactive step saying is, hey, who am I? Who do I want to be? And what do I stand for? Because when you know that, age is just a number. Experience means nothing. You can choose anything you want in life and you can make it reality. That's what a growth mindset is. Because when you've got the agility, and that's what, you know, in our kind of coaching practice and peak performance, it's saying is, what do the 1%ers do? They don't believe that anything is impossible. That's my first answer.
Sorry, I'm guilty of the mute button. Okay, so what? There's a comment here, a question. What a powerful way to integrate and supplement the first two speakers' content and models of life. I think this really culminates and brings it together. Do you perhaps have a book that talks about the peak performance quotient?
So Tanya would know, but so I've been a coach for, I think, since I was a teenager. I was the kind of person that when your friend tried to commit suicide, she'd call you. And so in terms of coaching, we have created performance quite recently, but it's out of years of experience. It's from studies. It's from everything myself and my business partner have put together. So the book is not out yet. The training material or the training course, that is available in the meanwhile. But the book we shall write. So I take the nudge from the universe to say, let's actually write this into a book. But the methodology of the 4 Qs is pretty much in terms of life experience, working with corporates, working with individuals, and honing people's talent. We found these 4 Qs are, if you are able to invest in those 4 Qs of your life, you will see a astronomical difference.
Thank you, Chantal. There are lots of comments, and I have to say, I think that this has given people a lot of food for thought. And no, I mean, I'm really blown away. In such a short space of time, you have covered so much ground. And I think it just goes back to that growth and then how to be you. How to be you, how do you be the best version of you? What do you need to do? And really don't let things get in your way. You know, like you say, making things difficult is kind of the thief of getting anywhere and success. And you can be anything you want to be. You are the only person that stands between you and achieving greatness, really. So, yeah, no, I'm really blown away. Thank you, Chantal, for your time. I know that at the moment you are incredibly busy. People are keeping you on your toes. But we always appreciate your input, your insight, and you sharing your experience and knowledge. And I love the fact that you're able to get these youngsters really geared up and ready to rock and roll. I think that the audience have had access to some incredible sessions this morning, and I think they all complement each other enormously, and there's so much to be learned from it. So I would encourage all of you, there is a break now. Please go to the tables. Please go and talk about the sessions, go and meet new people, go and have some discussions, go and talk about what this means to you, and share your thoughts on your growth, who you are, and how this has impacted you this morning. Because that's what it's all about. It's about the networking, the sharing, the talking, And that's what our professional community is about too. So I'm going to go and check on those tables to see if you are there. I really, this is very important. Chantal, I don't know if you have time to go and jump on a table just for a few minutes.
I'm very, you might have to navigate me. So WhatsApp on the side, I'm very happy to spend some time. The most important development you can do is development in yourself. That is, I believe, the biggest game changer. If you spend time to grow your own skills, your talents, investigate in yourself, it's the best work you can do. So yes, I'm happy to kind of spend some time on a table.
Okay, so for everybody, including you, Chantal, on the left-hand side, there's a little tab thing that says tables. It almost looks like two little links hanging together. That's where you go, pop on any table. There's no table that's earmarked for anybody in particular. Don't fight over the seats. There's plenty for everybody. So, yeah, break time, Chantal. Thank you so much. And thanks for giving of your time to go and spend some time on the table, because I know how valuable your time is.
With love and pleasure.
Thank you. And we'll catch you all at the table. Thank you.